Thank you, Barbara Ann, for saying we're live.
On live, it's not live.
I was watching my 3, 2, 1 countdown, and she was watching her 3, 2, 1 countdown. And Graham Knox Mirabel Carver, I don't know, he can't count. So
there's not a countdown; it just
it
loads
just
and then it
goes.
starts. But you are live, Father.
So thank you for joining us today on the Wheels of Justice here at noon, and we're here at noon every Sunday, and you can join us several different ways. You can join us on facebook.com/Bo Carver Show, or you can go to facebook.com/Carver Radio, or you can also go to YouTube. That's youtube.com and then search Bo Carver Show. So we hope that you'll tune in and join us and give us some likes, give us some loves, and share this because we've got a real interesting show coming up today. At least I believe it is, because I've been pretty hard on this subject, and we might even get even harder on it before we get softer on it. But either way, we're going to be talking about the controversial issues of the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. And I am your host, Big Will's Bo, as always. And then joining us in the studio today is Barbara Ann Purple Hayes. Somewhere,
Yeah.
There she is. And she's always, can't say always a co-host. Seems to disappear every now and then, but
Hey,
she's
I
here
brought the
today.
grandbabies to us today.
Okay, well, we'll forgive you for that.
Okay.
But you're here, so
Yes.
thank you.
Present.
And also co-hosting today, filling in for the Bronze Beauty. Of course, Carver can't take that because he's not quite a Bronze Beauty. But Melvin Thoffey is not in the
But
house.
he's purdy.
He's nice.
He's purdy. Is he
And
purdy?
it's Graham Knox Mirabel Carver. Thank you
With
for
the
being-
longest intro in human history.
Well, you need it.
Do I
You have a
need
lot-
such a long intro?
you have a
Anytime I show up on this show, it's always like, he in replacement for this person who is great and we love
we have
him.
to explain why you're here. Yeah.
Well, see, I mean, with like Melvin, it's like we'd rather Melvin, so we're just gonna talk about everything Melvin brings to the show.
But yeah, Melvin
And here's
doesn't
my
show
son, who
up.
I'm obligated to bring because he's here. His mother doesn't want to deal with him on the weekends. Take him, like that's what it is, which I love. It's beautiful, but my intros are like 20 minutes long.
Melvin's got a degree. But you're getting close. You're about what, 20 years from having one? That's
20
cool.
years. I'm gonna get my degree at 34.
Oh, well, I don't know what you're going to be.
I'm
when
trying to
you
go
grow up.
faster than that, please.
And our guest today, and what an honor to have our guest in the house. And if I screw the last name up, you can just whack me across the head because I'm used to it. Please welcome Betzy VanTilborg.
You just about got it, VanTilborg, but yes, hi.
Oh, VanTilborg.
I'm used to Borg.
It's Borg.
Yeah.
Fjord.
I'm used to people messing it up. It's pretty normal. My maiden name was Smith, so
You should have kept it right.
I
well,
told my
I
husband
said
that,
that
but he
long
said
ago.
that's not unique. Everybody's Smith.
That's
So
true.
he wanted
Wow.
to be unique. So.
Pretty sure Smith is the most popular last name
Or
in the United
Jones.
States.
Mike
Yeah,
would
Smith and
say.
Jones are
Mike
some of
Jones.
most.
And thank you for being here today on the
My
Wheels of
pleasure.
Justice.
Whoa.
And what we're going to be talking about today is some controversial issues with the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. And but first, I want to say that just bring up one thing that has just passed in the state of Texas is they're getting rid of the red light cameras.
Yay.
So
I never paid him when I got him. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
thank you for the applause.
Sorry, judges.
Although, well, they got pretty tough on that because if you didn't pay it, you couldn't renew your license.
Oh, I do remember one day I had to do that. I got it Christmas Eve. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So,
I do remember.
but here's a little bit of extra added notation for you. They're still out there, and part of the new law is the cities can still keep them running until their contract runs out on the cameras because they are in a pretty expensive contract with these camera people. And until their contract is up, if you go through a town that has that, you're still obligated to that ticket.
We
So
still have to pay it?
yes.
We can't wait till the contract runs out?
Well, don't run a red light until the contract's run out. How about not running a red light at all? How about that?
I know.
So just warning of that. So that was sort of the sidebar issue to that law, that yes, it's going to be disappearing, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be totally gone tomorrow. If you're going through a town, and I know there's one in Burleson.
They're in Denton, all over the place.
They're kind of a lot of places all over North Texas for sure, that when you do, you're still going to be obligated to that until those contracts run out. So you might want to call your city or your county and find out
when the contract's up.
Yeah, when those contracts are up before you start running red lights.
There
Okay.
we go.
And so we also want to thank Mocha Coffee for being a sponsor on our show. That's mokk-a.com, Mocha Coffee. And there's 5 different blends, and you need to go there, mokk-a.com, because that's the best coffee in the world.
Yum, yum.
And we want to thank Tsunami Digital Network for powering these shows that we're having. Thank you so much. And so let's get right into the topic.
Oh,
now,
what about JR?
Oh, JR, is Dawn on?
I don't
Yes.
know. I'm inviting right now. But
She was going to let me know if she's going to jump on or not. But we have a young man that his name is JR Monroy. And I think they're in the last day or two of going to that website. And I don't know what it is. So I was hoping she would pop on and post that on the comments to where you could go and order a T-shirt. This young man is 14 years old. We coached him in baseball, and he's needing a kidney.
he's a great kid, too.
Awesome kid. And so we want to help that. And I hope Dawn joins us before the show's over. She can post that. And if not, then later I'll post it on our Facebook page, and you can go there, order a shirt. And also there's a little spot to give a little extra to help this young man and this family and their need for this kidney. So we appreciate that. And anybody else got anything to say before we go into the subject? Boy, you guys suck.
Okay, well, would you rather us prepare for your little intro into the? I mean,
Why don't you sing it for us, since I couldn't pull it up today?
uh,
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're going to work on that. And so today we're going to talk about the controversial issues that have been going on with the Boy Scouts and also the Girl Scouts, and their squabbles against each other and how all that stuff kind of got started. Now, first of all, let me just say I was not in the Boy Scouts. I think I joined the Cub Scouts for about one season, and then they asked me to leave.
good job, Father.
I was a bluebird and
Yeah.
a brownie.
So how long were you one of those?
Not long.
Okay.
What?
My mother was a den mother for the Boy Scouts, so I hung out with the boys more than I hung out with the girls.
All right. Okay. The one thing I couldn't find on the internet was this weird terminology. You were a brownie.
That was my age at the
They're
time.
still
I
called
was in-
brownies.
Yeah, they wear the brown suits, sell cookies.
Brownie?
Yeah, I believe
Brownies,
it's
yeah.
first grade
Okay.
to third grade or
Okay.
something like
Go
that.
Now
go
they
through the
go-
rankings. Go through the rankings.
What
for
are
me.
they?
Daisy, brownie,
What,
Daisy, brownie. I think junior. I'm not sure what the Girl Scouts are.
Do you know the Boy Scouts?
I know there's Cub
I know
Scouts.
the Cub Scouts for sure.
I
know
know
there's
there's
Then
like
later.
Eagles is the very
That's the
top,
very
right?
But that's
And
still a
then
Boy
there's
Scout.
Cub. That's
so
all I know.
Cub Scouts is, and they have the Boy Scouts of America have a couple of different programs, but in the Cub Scouts it goes. They just added Lion, which was kindergarten, because
Oh, that's
prior
cool.
to this they were starting Tigers at first grade, then Tigers, Wolves, Bears, Webelos 1, Webelos 2, and then you bridge over into the Boy Scouts.
But is the Cub Scouts those lower?
They're the
Lower
younger
grades,
grades.
yeah,
And
the younger
when do you
kids.
actually move into the Boy Scouts?
4th grade, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Which is like
4th or 5th.
I'm pretty sure it's like 11. Like you have to be 11 years
Well,
old.
as you
right?
can tell, Graham Knox Mirabel Carver was not a Cub or a Boy Scout either.
No, not at all.
And I don't even think that we even talked to him about that because of how I was feeling about some of the shenanigans that were going on.
You were
But-
into baseball. That's
And
why.
he was
No,
into
it's because I'm
baseball.
lazy.
And
That's
that's
really
true.
the end result is
I
I
don't-
would not get out every day.
And I didn't
do
think that he
anything.
could ever tie a knot. So I didn't want to be embarrassed out in the woods. But so we're going to talk about that subject today. Now, I've been real hard on the Boy Scouts because of some of the things that have been going on over the last several years. But when I sat down and talked to Betzy, she kind of filled me in on some things, and that's what we're here to discuss. That the Girl Scouts have some things, the Boy Scouts got some issues, and we're going to just kind of throw it all into a pot and stir it up and see what comes out. Now, what Betzy is a mom, and she has dealt with the Girl Scouts, and I'm assuming you
A little bit.
a little bit, but enough to
She's
know.
tried to do
I
it
have
with the Girl
tried-
Scouts.
Well,
That's the story.
but that's where we're going with it, is the
Right.
fact that you have dealt with
You have personal
them
experience.
Yes.
from more of a negative aspect, and then knowing a little bit more about what the Boy Scouts present. And so just give us a little background about that and how you got started dealing with the Girl Scouts.
The Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts?
Well,
Or both?
Or how about both?
Yeah, both. Just lay
Okay.
it out there like you've experienced.
Okay, well, I'm a homeschooling mom, so
Great.
socializing my kids is very important to me. And one of the best ways that I figured I could do that, my dad was a Cub Scout, and my grandfather was a Cub Master for a while back in the 50s. I have his uniform that's about 50 years old, or 60s, I guess.
Wow.
So my son is 8, my daughter is 5, and my neighbor, when we were living in north of Chicago, my husband was in the Marine Corps, so his last duty station was in Chicago. My neighbor was a commissioner, Mr. Tote. He was a commissioner or something in the Boy Scouts, way high up, and he kind of managed some of the troops. And he was able to get my son into the Cub Scout group a year early because they go by age and grade. My son was 1 year ahead. He was doing first grade when he should have been doing, when all the other kids were doing kindergarten.
Okay, I
So
got you.
he kind of got us into Cub Scouting. And when we got into the group, the Cub Master, Ben, said, "Hey, we need some den leaders, no pressure, but here's the application." And I said, "Well, I'm a sucker for volunteering. That's
there
my
you
favorite
go.
thing to do, volunteer." And so I ended up being the Tiger Den mom. And they were like, "Oh, it's just 1 hour a week." But it's not just 1 hour a week.
Yeah,
It's not, because you
that's
have
just
to
the meeting
prepare.
time for everybody.
Yes, I had 10 little tiger cubs, and they were the cutest little tiger cubs ever. And we had a blast. I mean, it seemed like the more I planned, the worse it went. So sometimes I would just kind of read the book, fly by the seat of my pants, and go. And so my son was in it. I followed as the den mom for den leader. They don't call them den moms anymore. Den leader for the 3 years that we were there, or to 2 that I was a den mom. I was a tiger den mom and the wolf den mom. And so then we moved. My husband retired, and then we moved here to Texas. And the first thing that I wanted to do was get my son back into Scouts. And because we moved here halfway through the year, I had to get him caught up. And my daughter was starting kindergarten, so I was like, well, let's get her into Girl Scouts.
So now she's getting in a place to move into some sort of scouting.
Right. She needed to have some socialization, get her into some groups with other girls. That's what we do when we get to a place. We jump in and we try to get involved in our community.
Awesome.
Bloom where you're planted, Marine Corps. And,
Yes.
you know, and so I called the Northeast Texas Girl Scout Council, and I said, "Hey, I found this group that I want to join, but they haven't called me back." And I joined online, and then I made some phone calls, and that was back in February. And so I was working with a girl at the council level that was trying to help me.
Now let's explain that you're in North Texas and in the Denton area, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're in Denton, Texas, and you're trying to find a what do you call it? A troop?
Troop.
A troop
Mhm.
to get
A
involved
Daisy
in
troop.
for your little girl.
Right.
Okay.
So every time I tried to get into a troop, there was always one piece of information missing. It was either I had the time and the place, but not the date, or the date and the time, but not the place. And so I ended up going back and forth on emails with this lady for three months. And she was put into, I believe it was 4 different troops. And I was never emailed. I emailed the troop leaders, and I was never emailed back. There was just this massive communication block that nobody ever wanted to get back with me or follow up with me. And so I was trying so hard to get her into these groups. And I was posting online about it too, of course, on Facebook. And I've got some friends who are really amazing troop leaders, and they do some great things with the Girl Scouts. So they were kind of guiding me towards doing a couple of different things. And then I had my husband's cousin, she was having a hard time getting her daughter into Girl Scouts as well, and she was also interestingly in the North Texas Girl Scout Council.
And let's just explain that Denton is not a small little town.
No,
I
and
mean,
she's in
it's-
Teague, I think.
Oh, okay.
We
So it
had
was North
some Eagle
Texas.
Scouts on here. It said, I'm old school Eagle Scout. I grew up learning life skills, and they use today. That's Matt Hayes. He's commenting.
Hey, Matt Hayes, love you.
And Dawn was on. I wanted to let you know she
Hey, did she post
the
that?
website. Yes,
Okay.
she did.
If you're tuned into the show, and this show's archived, so you can go back and check it out later at facebook.com/Bo Carver Show, and that's BOCARV like in Victor ER Show, Bo Carver Show. And go and click onto that post that Dawn Monroy put there to help her son JR. We appreciate that immensely. And I don't know if she will hear me, but how long is that going to last?
She's
Dawn?
still on right now. So
Don, how long is that going to last for you to be able to people to go to
I
that
believe
spot?
I believe it actually says on the website. When you go to the
Oh,
website,
okay.
it'll say.
I think it's only a couple more days.
A goal. I'm pretty sure it was like a couple $100, maybe a couple thousand, and the goal, and then next to it says it's time left.
Okay, I got you.
So
you have a birthday too.
Go ahead and be sure and do that. And also, I want to send a huge shout out to one of my long time friends. In fact, we graduated from high school together, to just show you how long that was ago. My dear friend Jim Rush from Beaumont, Texas, an old Royal Purple buddy. And man, we're coming to see you soon. Graham and I are going to come see you down there. So get ready. Well, maybe we can celebrate your birthday, a little bit late, but we'll do it. And happy birthday, Jim Rush. Love you, brother. So if you just tuned in to the show, we're here. I'm your host, Big Will's Bo. We have Barbie Ann Purple Hayes, co-host, Graham Knox Mirabo Carver, co-host, and Betzy VanTilborg. How about that? I got it. It took me 18 times. I'm on a roll. And we're discussing today and her experience with Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and some of the controversial things that are going on there. And she's explaining to us trying to get her daughter into a Girl Scout troop. And that's where she's at right now, and running through some difficulties getting that to happen. And in a city that's not tiny. So continue with where you're at. You've tried to get in touch with some people, and you've had some difficulties with the time, the location. It was like always one piece missing.
Right. There was always one piece of information missing. So I just got fed up with it, and I started talking to some people at my son's Cub Scout group. And the Cub Master there said their daughter had trouble getting into a group here. And there are tons of troops. And so it shouldn't be a problem getting girls into the Cub Scouts, but it seems to be a major issue. So I
Go ahead.
I'm distracted.
Don't worry.
He's clicking that.
So I ended up calling finally because it was May and I had paid my dues in February, and I was just to the point where I asked to speak to the same girl because she had stopped communicating with me. She kept saying, well, I'm getting in touch with this troop. I'll let you know. You can try this troop. My daughter was put into 4 different troops, and nobody ever called me. Nobody ever touched base with me. Nobody ever said, yeah, we want your daughter. And it's frustrating because everybody wants to be wanted,
Well, and this is the thing that I did not know about. And like I said, I've been pretty hard on the Boy Scouts, but now, did you get your daughter into a Cub Scout troop? Did you decide to move that way?
Not yet, but I am exploring that possibility.
Okay, so there was a lot more openness and a lot more
Yes.
information that you're saying that would have been it's going to be a lot easier to move her in the Denton area to a Cub Scout than a Girl Scout.
I will say this. I signed the children up for Scouts, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts respectively at about the same time. And my son has since earned his bear badge. He is caught up on all of the requirements, and we're going camping in a couple of weeks, and he is loved
And she's
it.
still trying to
And
find
I'm
a
still
troop.
trying to get my daughter into a troop.
Okay.
So at this point, I got so fed up with it. I called the council again. I said, look, I'm frustrated. I'm going to try to find different options for my daughter. can I get my money back? And they said, no, that goes to the council level. So, but your dues are good until September, because I assumed it was each year. Well, that doesn't do me any good because
exactly. You're not in anything.
I'm not in anything, and they don't really go through the summer. So some do, some don't. It depends. So I guess the other thing that really frustrated me was in February, I said, I know that I'm going to have to get my daughter caught up, because I knew that I had to get my son caught up on all of the requirements. Well, I didn't know this, but the Girl Scouts are, they don't have the same type of requirements. I was gung-ho, ready to go to the scout store, get her uniforms all ready, go get the books and go get everything. And I told the girl on the phone this, and she said, wait, don't do that yet. Each troop is individual. They don't all wear the uniform. They don't all wear, some of them wear the vest, some of them wear the sash, some of them don't do anything. It's up to the troop leader. And I said, well, okay, then I can wait on that until we get into a troop. But then I said, well, I can at least go get the books so that I can get her caught up. Well, in the Cub Scouts,
right,
you have, usually it's about 6 badges. They're belt loops now, but 6 things that are requirements. And then you have a whole book full of adventures that are electives, so to speak. And so you have to do 6 requirements that are standardized throughout the entire Boy Scouts, and you can do 1 elective. And then once you finish those, you can do all the electives you want. You can get all of the belt loops.
And I'm sure that they probably wear the uniforms, and they're so what we're getting at, and what you're getting at, is that the Boy Scouts seem to have their stuff a lot more together than the Girl Scouts.
It's very standardized across,
and very standardized with what they're wanting from the top down. Now, I got out on the Boy Scouts. I was real hard on them. And Graham, give us a little background on how long the Boy Scouts have been in existence, and a little bit of juice about that.
So, short answer, a very long time. Long answer, the Boy Scouts of America, or BSA, they were founded in February 8th of 1910.
That was Boy Scouts of America when it was BSA.
So
by Lord Baden-Powell.
Yeah. And that was in February 8th of 1910. So, she's got something.
I've got something good. Lord Baden-Powell created the program because he found that, oh goodness, where is it? It's a good one.
It's a good one.
I can't find it now. But basically, he said in that time during the war in England, he was finding that the men were not war ready. They were weak and too cityfied, basically. I don't have.
So he created the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, so basically, he was trying to toughen. Yeah, so that's in
survival skills.
There you go.
So a bit more history. In World War I, or during World War I, the Boy Scouts were the largest uniformed body in America.
Wow.
So over the Army itself.
Wow.
It was working in partnership with the Treasury Department and secured approximately $352 million in Liberty bond subscriptions. So that's a lot of money, to say the least. And I believe in the 1930s, I don't have the date here, they worked with the feds to secure fingerprints for the civil fingerprint database to identify people who may have committed a crime, basically for very early forensic science.
There's been a lot going on with that organization.
Yes.
Now,
So what's your opinion if people call the Boy Scouts a racket?
A racket?
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is that over the course of all these years, let me just say a little bit of an apology to the Boy Scouts, because I've been real hard on them with a lot of stuff that's happened.
You thought the same thing, didn't you?
And I believe that, I know they've done a lot of good, but sometimes when you can be really good and do a lot of good, and of course everybody knows I'm an ID channel watcher, and you can find people that have done really great things in their life, smart, got education, doctors, done super great things, but then they commit a murder. So maybe the end doesn't always end up like their life has kind of gone. And so I kind of pictured that like with the Boy Scouts. It's been great. Then all of a sudden they are breaking down, allowing homosexual leaders to come in, just a lot of different things about that. You can like it or not like it. I'm just saying that I found it a little, unique or interesting to me. I didn't really care for it. Then they decided to start letting young women to come into the Boy Scouts. Then they changed the name, and that just happened recently, didn't it?
Yes, it was February of 2019, February of this year.
Yeah. So and it's called just the
Scouts BSA.
Scouts BSA. So they did that, and then the Girl Scouts got upset.
Yes, they did.
And so they sued the Boy Scout or the Scouts BSA.
They sued Scouts BSA for trademark infringement using the word Scouts. What they were finding was that many of the Scout programs were using girl in front of Scouts, and it was confusing people. And they were concerned that people were going to be assuming that the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts were either A, joining forces, they're merging, or B, that the Girl Scouts was going away. And they don't want anybody to think those things. They're still two very separate entities.
Our cookies are going nowhere.
Well,
yes, I can assure everyone. And
our cookies are not leaving. Trust us.
There's a few good cookies in there, I'll tell you that.
So to put into perspective, you said they did some good things. A lot of people don't know like what extent that may be to. So here are some notable good things they may have done to boost your morale when it comes to them, to maybe get behind them a bit more. In response to Pearl Harbor in World War II, Hawaiian Scouts set up aid stations, emergency kitchens. They helped evacuate citizens and manned 58 air raid sirens around Honolulu. And in the aftermath of the September 11th attacks of 9/11, the Scouts from the area collected more than 153,000 bottles of water for Ground Zero rescue workers and placed handwritten messages of appreciation and encouragement in their hard hats. So they do a lot of good.
Oh yes.
So
Definitely.
I am being corrected here, slapped around a little bit.
The point being is the only reason. So in January 2014, they lifted what they called the homosexual ban, which was just a ban on anyone who wasn't straight. Really, it wasn't necessarily a ban on only gay people. And then the ban of homosexual adults was lifted on July of 2015. So
right, they got a new CEO. And I believe the Mormon Church may have even
they boycotted it.
Boycott it.
Yeah, they in fact wanted to. They probably have started their own organization because they frowned it on that. And I know a lot of Boy Scouts were Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts were in it, and they said that they'd never let their kid join the Boy Scouts because of some of those reasons like that, and that they were cowing down to the monies. In other words, the people that were investing in.
That's my problem with it. I mean, it was in my opinion, that was the right moral decision. It's not fair to ban someone, whether you think it's a choice or not. It's not fair to ban someone for who they are. I mean, that's just not fair.
By having that homosexual ban, they lost actually quite a few corporate sponsors.
Yes,
they lost a lot of money by keeping the ban.
Yeah,
when they lifted it, they have the potential.
We'll see that. That's the problem. Is it all comes back to money. If they were doing it because it's genuinely the right decision, I would not have a single issue with it. But they're doing it because they're conforming to what can make them the most amount of money, and they're supposed to be non-for-profit. So that's
right. Well, and another thing is a lot of the leaders in some of these scouts are making a lot of money.
Yes.
I mean,
who?
She wants to join
No,
that.
I want to join.
No, I'm talking about
the CEOs and the corporation level.
upper level.
Corporate level.
Yeah, yes.
So you want to know something interesting?
Yes, I'm always interested
for the Girl Scouts. The Girl Scouts are a much more liberal organization, and so they have not lost most of their corporate sponsors. But one of the issues in the last couple of years, I believe in 2014, was that almost I don't want to say percentages, but they were having issues with their upper level pensions were going up. The pension, and so a lot of their cookie sales were going to augment the pension deficit.
Oh, that's insane.
And I think they had to petition Congress for some IRS help regarding relief for the pensions. So because that money ends up going away from the troops and away from camp maintenance and things like that.
Well, Cindy Lou says that they can go ahead and start another group called the Rainbow Scouts. I'm sure you know where that came from. Parrot
Head Lounge. We love you.
In the house.
Yes, and and a question I have too is, have the Girl Scouts allowed like
Transgender
transgenders
boys.
Yes,
to
they
come in?
do.
They
Yes,
have
they do.
allowed
On a
that.
case
See,
by
I
case.
didn't.
It's
That
on
was
their
not
website.
advertised very well, so I didn't really know about that. But I'm asking that question, and you know.
I do know. I looked it up last night. They actually have a whole space for social issues on their website, and they do allow transgender children into their program as long as a community, the community recognizes that child as a female. So if the child presents as a female and the community recognizes that child as a female, then the Girl Scouts will allow
So
them as a
it can't
female.
just be a guy going around saying
It
I'm a
can-
female. It has to be someone who's
Right.
actively pursuing a more, I guess, female
presenting
style
themselves,
life.
presenting themselves as a female.
Well, we covered that on Thursday night,
The
and it's
transgender, yeah.
and so that's another whole subject that you can watch our show from last
Oh,
Thursday.
people are gonna
and
start
discuss
boycotting
that.
the cookies now.
So,
Oh, don't. Okay.
now
Actually, would you like
that-
to?
Don't Boy Scout the cookies.
Boy
They
Scout.
have got. I believe they do have gotten. I do
They-
believe they have gotten relief from that. So I don't believe that the money is going to the pensions anymore.
So buy those cookies. Support the
So
Girl
don't
Scouts.
feel bad
if you
buying
still
your
do.
cookies.
Yeah, They go. So here's actually. Would you like the numbers behind
I'm
that?
all
So,
ears, Carver.
So the latest they've actually documented how much money they've made off of the cookie sales that I could find was the 90s. In 1999, the Girl Scout cookies made $700 million. 75% went
$700 million.
$700 million in
In the
sales.
90s.
And that was
That's
in
the
99.
90s.
And 75% went towards their local councils. So went to
To
go
the Girl
back to the
Scouts.
Girl Scouts.
Okay.
And there's plenty of people who present controversy of like keeping more money than they probably should. But most of that, from my knowledge, goes back to the camps and making just a quality of life change, right? To make everything better for the participants. And then 25% goes back to the bakeries who made the cookies in the first place, most likely.
Mhm.
So now, the thing that is puzzling to me is the fact that there's this money coming in through these cookie donations or selling of these cookies, but then Betzy has a hard time even getting in a troop. So there seems
That's where the people bring up controversy of
Yeah.
if we go to a camp and it's terribly maintained and they can't find really any troop to go to, then where is, because they kept that 75% of 700 million, that's $525 million they kept.
So I will say this, the councils leave a lot of that to the troop leaders, and troop leaders are volunteers. Troop leaders are volunteers. They have, they're doing all of this of their own time, and I did try to join during the height of cookie
maybe they
season.
should change that. Maybe they
I
start paying.
think they should.
I'm a firm
They
believer
make
that
the money to do so.
Well,
JT King says Scouts should be about survival, not politics.
I
That's true.
agree.
I agree
That's what
wholeheartedly.
they were starting
And
for.
I will say,
Thank you,
for-
JT King.
as being a den leader for the Cub Scouts, I did find that it was like we didn't focus on any politics. None of that trickled down. With us, it was just the kids and getting the skills, tying knots, earning the belt buckles. We didn't talk about that.
Exactly.
So
We
that-
do have one
But
requirement.
you didn't have a lot of those
One
issues
requirement.
that
Here,
are
I
out
want to hear
right now.
this. One requirement.
Okay.
There was one requirement called duty to God.
Okay.
And that was something that, because I was in a Catholic church. Our Catholic church down the street was where they were sponsoring our Boy Scout troop. Well, I'm not Catholic. And so what we did was the Cub Scout Council, and this is most of them, will tell you, you go home and you have to do the duty to God, fill out the stuff. It's not real specific. It doesn't ask a lot of questions. And that's something you do with your family. And so if you don't share the Christian faith, you don't have to be a Christian. It's not forced on you. Yeah.
But
But
they
actually,
the
there
Boy
is
Scouts
there is
were originally
the
kind
Boy
of
Scouts. The
designed.
Boy Scouts still have a ban on atheism. You cannot
They
be an
do.
atheist and be a Boy Scout.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it originally had Christian values or Christian.
100, and it still has Christian values. It just doesn't force a Christian faith or
But
belief
Right.
system.
but that is teeter-tottering on what a lot of things are doing, and especially what a lot of Christians think about that. For
so
sure.
the Boy Scouts are walking a thin line with
Correct.
their only population
Well,
that
right
really
here,
cares to join them.
They're saying the Girl Scouts right here that her project was about pro-abortion, was against moral compass. That was something in the news about the Girl Scouts.
Wow.
So no, they do push a political agenda, and that's actually, it's less now than you may
Less
think.
now?
Yes, because back in World War II, they were picking sides. I mean, they've always been picking sides within their history.
That's the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts?
That was the Boy Scouts.
I'm talking about the Girl Scouts.
So the Boy Scouts have always had their agenda and pushed towards it.
So you learn something every day. It's
so let me ask you, Betsy. We've got about just a few minutes left. What is your overall take? Are you considering putting your girl into the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts to go through the Boy Scouts rank? Are you still going to try to move forward with trying to find? Now you're moving all together completely, and let me just say that her and her husband are moving, and family are about to relocate to Colorado Springs, correct?
Yes, correct.
And
haven't even been in Texas for a year.
But you're originally from Texas.
Yes. This is home.
This is home. But he got a special job out in Colorado Springs, and now they're putting their home up for sale. So you'll be going out there. Now, are you going to try to continue to see how you can move with the Girl Scouts? Are you throwing in the towel on that and going just right for the Boy Scouts?
It depends on what I get out there. So to go back to the
original, that was a very poor answer.
Oh, thank you. Hang on just a minute. The original, the Boy Scouts justification for moving towards allowing girls in is because they want to do family scouting. That's their marketing
and
thing.
You know what?
Scouts.
But see, that's not how it came across. They didn't really do a very good job of promoting.
There's two possibilities with that. That's either
according to their page on their Facebook, on their website, we understand that families today are busier and more diverse than ever. In fact, most families are dual earners, and all families have less time. More than 1/3 of parents feel they spend too little free time with their children, and millennial parents are desperate to spend more time interacting with their kids. So their justification was that if you allow girls in the Boy Scouts, and mind you, they are not co-ed groups. They are a pack of girls and a pack of boys. And or a den of girls and a den of boys. You can have boys and girls in a den.
But let me interrupt.
Uh-huh.
So if they are in a group, but during the meetings they would be together.
The pack meetings, which happen maybe once a month.
Okay, but then to do any kind of activities, they're a separate situation.
Correct. For all of their activities.
Now, is that going to be the way that is all the way till being a Eagle Scout? Like,
as far as I know,
there's
that's
no
what their plan
going
is.
camping together with the boys and girls.
And the requirements stay the same too. The requirements are all the same. They do have new books. However, in the books, the information is all the same, but they changed from he to she, and they changed the pictures from boys to girls so that the girls can see themselves in scouting and not just be using the Boy Scout books. So they did it as a way to make it easier on families.
Well,
and I love that. I say
cool.
that because in Colorado, if I can find a troop, troop is Girl Scouts, pack is Boy Scouts. If I can find a pack where they have a girl den and a boy den, and I can go and do this once a week
with your family,
with my family,
it's done.
It's done.
Right.
We are doing Boy Scouts, and if both of my children end up being Eagle Scouts, there's a lot more. The Girl Scouts do have an equivalent, but it's not as notable.
Yeah.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's not as advanced, but it's not as notable. When you say, "Oh, I'm an Eagle Scout," people are like, "Oh, wow!"
You can put that on your resume, and it's impressive. And doctors actually love that.
What do they call the Girl Scouts?
The Gold Star Award.
Okay.
So it's not as noticeable.
It doesn't even sound as good.
Yeah, it
doesn't.
It doesn't give you the punch that like
they should have left it the Golden Eaglet like they had it from a long time ago.
Golden Eagle. I would just say, yep.
Golden
you're hired, Golden Eagle. That sounds like
so it's not as notable.
Military award.
It's an equivalent award. And I will say the Eagle Scout Award is amazing. I've actually encountered one kid in Scouts who did a project for my nonprofit in Waukegan. He built cat shelters, and it was amazing. He had to do a whole project management program, and from start to finish, it was amazing. My husband was trying to do PMP certification, and this kid was doing all the things that my husband was trying to do in this PMP. So it's project management, and it teaches you real life skills.
Yeah.
So it's a legit program.
I would like to bring up my final opinion before we go. When it comes to the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, they are in decline. They've been not
both of them.
They're not dying. I wouldn't say dying, but they are on the decline if they continue to act the way they've been acting. Be too focused on things that really shouldn't matter to them. They're probably not going to make it. I mean, the Girl Scouts were at there's 1.8 million Girl Scouts. That's down 11.6% from the early 2000s.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
There are 2.3 3 million Boy Scouts, which is down 2.7 million.
Oh, wow.
Since the early 2000s.
That is a lot.
Definitely
a lot
in decline.
of it has to do with the controversies.
Right.
Yeah.
Some 2015.
So my opinion is, whether you like, the homosexual ban being taken off, right, and they're letting in more people, being more inclusive, whether you like that or not, it doesn't matter. If you're gonna do that, if you were thinking about it in the first place, if you can get a troop or a pack to do so, you should take them out because it's good for them.
But
and
they feel like it's taking God out of it when they
aren't taking God out of it though. They're completely not removing.
Maybe they should rebrand themselves with that.
Well, no, they shouldn't rebrand themselves. People are just too caught up. They keep saying, the Boy Scouts are too caught up in the politics. Well, you only see that because you're caught up in the politics too.
The Scouts in general. Girl Scouts are also caught up in a lot of politics too. They have a whole section on their webpage about social media, about social issues.
Yeah, so everyone is all concerned and flustered about it. But if you weren't involved yourself, would you even notice that they're involved in that, right? If you just went out there and
but they're putting it on their websites, is what she's saying.
Yeah, but are they involving the kids?
The core of the issue is, does it trickle down to the children? And for me personally, no, it has not.
So it shouldn't really matter at the end of the day, right?
and I guess in one way that you need to be able to understand that in the world we're moving in, whether you like it or not, your child and yourself and your family is going to face these issues.
We are.
And whether you like it or not, that's the way the world is right now, and I don't see it going back. I mean, it's once you cross certain lines, you're not going to go back and reestablish that situation for the ban or not ban or whatever, some of these political issues. So in some ways, you might as well get used to it.
Yeah, and to be fair, a trans kid in your group, what's it called, a pack, or a gay kid, it's not going to turn your kid gay or turn your kid trans. It's not going to affect your kid in any way that they wouldn't be affected.
If anything, it opens,
it teaches them
to be considerate to all people.
And it matures them a lot quicker than they would naturally mature if they never ran into it.
So pull up your big girl panties and move on, people.
They're warning.
I agree wholeheartedly. If you don't like what one pack is doing, try another one. And that's what I tried with the Girl Scouts.
That's a good idea.
The troops, I didn't like what one troop didn't contact me, so I moved on to the next one, and we did it pretty quick. I gave them about a month. It wasn't that quick, but I tried to call them. I tried to contact a lot of different people, and it just wasn't working. So we moved on.
Well, they're saying on Facebook they're worried about the safety of the kids because there's been lawsuits that it has been an issue. The kids have not been safe with
Boy Scouts.
No. So if it's a safety issue, then yeah, I
well, and you know what? We're not even safe in schools anymore. So there's a lot of issues that's another whole subject.
Yeah.
So we've run out of time for today. Betsy, I know you're going to be moving to Colorado.
We hate it.
We hate that
gonna miss you.
because I know that we would
stop enjoying your life. Just stay in Texas.
And
we're proud.
Best of luck to you and your husband and your family. And hopefully you'll get settled into a place up there with the Scouts and be happy as a family and move forward. And hopefully that doesn't interfere and it brings you together. That's what it's supposed to do. Graham Knoxmere Bo Carver, thank you as always for being.
She had all the stats down already.
Being the guru that you are. Purple Haze, always running Facebook Live and making the comments and reading the comments. Thank you so much for joining us today.
We have a good audience today.
And if you want to also, this is an archive show. Tell people about it, that they can go to Facebook.com/Bo Carver Show, and they can watch that show at any time. Make even comments even after the show's aired. Mm-hmm. So it's really kind of cool to be able to do that, and we appreciate you joining us today. And don't forget, now Thursday we've added a new show called Rant or Rave. You don't want to miss that because that is a warning.
And we can say what we want on that one.
And then we get a little bit looser on that show. You're more than welcome.
Yes, you are.
And thank you again for joining us till Thursday, until next Sunday. Have a blessed week. Hug a veteran.
Hey, that's my word.
Well, go say it then.
Hug a veteran.
Okay.
Take my words.
All right. Then don't hug a veteran.
You better hug a veteran or Purple Haze will kick your butt.
And we love you, and we'll see you on the Wheels of Justice next Sunday at noon. Thank you.
Oops, I got it. Wait. And video.
You guys
Bye.
can do it. I believe in your technical prowess. You got to press yes, Father.
Oh my goodness, there was so much I had. I thought it was a much longer show.
No, 40